All right, then back to Rudolf Steiner here. Um, and in this lecture, he begins to move through um, the aspects of the physical realm in order to lay the foundations for what is to come on the karmic plane. So, first, he talks about how the human being is always taking in elements from the physical world. We take in salt, we need iron for our blood, we take in copper. It's only a very limited amount, but we do interact with it. But for the most part, we sort of stroll through it freely. And in this diagram here, it looks to me like an adaptation of the old Aristotelian diagram between the opposition of the principles of hot and cold, wet and dry. If you if you mix the hot and the dry, of course, you get fire, which just simply goes straight up. Fire is the element that wants to get back to the heavens, whereas if you mix the hot and the wet, you get air, which goes up and spreads horizontally. It doesn't go straight up. Whereas if you mix the principle of the wet and the cold, you get water, which goes down and spreads. And if you mix the principle of the dry with the cold, you get earth, which simply goes straight down. So in that Aristotelian cosmogony, fire and earth were the exact opposites of each other. One was straight down, the other was straight up. This diagram seems to be a modification of that. But Steiner's whole point is that we experience a certain degree of freedom in relation to the natural world. The human body moves through it in a way that is perfectly natural and normal. And when we leave our physical bodies behind, of course, what we leave behind is something that belongs to the mineral world, the mineralogical world. But now he gets into this principle of what he calls comfort versus discomfort, internal and external. And by that, he really means our physical appearance. And he says that we choose our physical appearance, whether we're tall or short, attractive or unattractive, whether we have a big nose or not, let's say. These elements have to do with the etheric world, the plant world, and its etheric forces. And the etheric forces of the plant world are guided over by the lowest of the hierarchies of his angels, the archangels, and the archi. They have to do with the etheric forces that the plants need, that they draw off of, and that when we form our physical bodies, we draw from these forces to shape our physical bodies for how we appear. And how we appear determines a lot of what happens to us. It determines a lot of our karma. It determines a lot of things that illnesses, for instance, our resistance to illnesses, how we get over them, how we look, all of that kind of thing. But we are also moving through an animal world, and the animal world has to do not with form and comfort, but with sympathies and antipathies. We might like this or that type of woman. We might like blondes. We might not. We might like brunettes. We might be attracted to this older type of person or a younger type of person. These are all sympathies and antipathies. And animals, of course, experience this too. This has to do with the astral body. The astral body has to do with movement and sensation through the physical world in a 360-degree radius. So animals have this too, this antipathy, sympathy thing. And this has to do with the second level of hierarchy up. And here you can see, starting at the top there, the Kyriotets, the Dynamis, and the Exousiae. Those are the angelic beings that have to do with governing the astral body and our sympathies and antipathies. So he's sort of building a model here for the physical basis, and you can see down below there is archi, archangels, angels, looks like minerals and plants as well, down on that line. And the orange line is the human inclination to ascend upward through the hierarchies, and the yellow arrow is their descent downward toward us. It's a little bit like Dante. Dante's movement through the cosmic spheres as he ascends on his way through from the earth to the moon, through the planets to the Empyrean. All right. So not only are we in the mineral world, which we experience with relative freedom, and in the etheric world, which has to do with sickness and illness and physical comfort and discomfort, and in the astral world of the animals, which has to do with sympathies and antipathies, but we're also in the human world of the ego. And the human world of the ego has to do with events and experiences. And here's something that looks like a model that he's dealing with the Hebrew tradition of the Kabbalah. There's the Chokhmah up here and the Binah. But it does have to do with the human world of karmic experiences, where individuals who have met each other, he puts it this way, an individual that you are karmically tied with and that you meet, let's say, in your 50s, it's almost as though every step of your entire life has led you to that individual. That's kind of how karma works. Every corner you turn, every relationship that gets broken, every relationship, every step you take leads you eventually to that person with whom you have a karmic tie. So it has to do with events and experiences, and of course that also has to do with the highest of the hierarchies, the cherubim, seraphim, and so forth. That I've forgotten for some reason. That got the seraphim, cherubim, and the thrones are the ones who govern events and experiences between human beings who have karmic ties. And it's a little bit like Schopenhauer's idea that when you look back over your life, especially the older you get, it almost looks like it has the composition to it of a novel. It's nothing seems random when you look back over it. You met this person who moved you to that person, who brought you to this person, and so forth. It's a web that weaves karmically. And when karmic things don't get worked out in one lifetime, then they have to get balanced out in another lifetime. That's in accordance with the law of karmic balancing. And so this is a very simple, quick lecture, but it lays the foundation for what is to come in these later lectures, the physical aspect. He wants to emphasize that there's a physical dimension here to karma as well. It isn't just it isn't just destiny. It isn't just karma, as it says. Karma also has to do with the physical body and with the angelic beings working with the physical body. And all right, so we'll leave it there for that very brief lecture.